Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Cinephiles Assemble, where I, David DeRose, go through my movie collection and talk about it with you, the internet. And as we're all frozen in at the moment, I decided to take a look at another poll winner. Today's movie beat out an Oscar-nominated, based on a true story film starring Tom Hanks, and the second installment of the adventures of boy wizard Harry Potter. This movie is Cinephiles number 251, 1972's Tales from the Crypt, which I will be watching on glorious VHS. So, all I know about this movie is it's an anthology film based on the EC Comics horror magazine of the same name, and features Peter I Blew Up Alderaan Cushing. So, let's take a look. The movie starts with a group of tourists taking a tour of crypt-filled catacombs. They are explicitly told by the guide to stay close to him, for the catacombs are maze-like and dangerous, so they should all stay close together. So, of course, our main characters lollygag and lose track of the group. They, of course, get hopelessly turned around, when suddenly... Having just seen this creaky door open on its own in creepy, corpse-filled catacombs, the tourists go inside.
We're smarter than we look.
Upon entering and seeing the room is vacant and has no other exit, the door swings shut, sealing them in. Then...
There's no way out there.
Who are you?
Where did you come from? All in good time.
Look, how do we get out of here?
All in good time.
The mysterious man, named in the credits as the Crypt Keeper...
Good evening, film fans. And welcome to my crawly crypt.
Sadly nowhere near as entertaining as he is, though thankfully spouting out far fewer puns. The Crypt Keeper invites them to sit and begins asking cryptic questions.
Why did you come in here?
I don't know, I was just driving by and something made me.
And what are your plans when you leave here?
Plans?
Plans?
We see Joanne's plans in the first segment of our anthology film, and all through the house. It's Christmas time, making Tales from the Crypt a Christmas movie, and Joanne knows just the way to celebrate. Yes, Joanne has decided to murder her husband and make it look like an accident for the insurance money. However, while staging her husband's accident, a news bulletin interrupts the caroling.
A man described as a homicidal maniac has escaped from the hospital for the criminally insane. He is 6'3" tall, 210 pounds, dark eyes, bald, and may be wearing a Santa Claus costume.
There are few things better than the old escaped mental patient trope. I do love it so. I also love killer Santa tropes, so I get a nice double dose of wonderful cliches. And wouldn't you know it, guess who comes a-calling? Joanne locks the house up tight, but realizes she has a murder to clean up before she can dial the authorities. So she sets the stage for the accident, cleans up the blood, and, with everything seeming hunky-dory, starts to call the police. But wait, what's this? Her daughter's bedroom door is suddenly wide open?
He's here, Mummy! I let him in! It's Santa!
That's right, her daughter lets in the psychotic Santa, who proceeds to massage her to death. Other than the killer Santa not looking very menacing, this segment is very well done. having almost no dialogue other than the news broadcast, and Christmas music constantly playing over the murder, cleanup, and attack. It's almost a silent film, very well executed. No pun intended. Back at the crypt, having given Joanne a vision of her fate, the Crypt Keeper turns to Carl, starting our second segment, Reflection of Death. We see Carl saying goodbye to his wife and children, claiming to be going on a business trip. However, yes, good old Carl is having an affair. Going on a trip with his mistress Susan, Carl falls asleep. Awaking from a nightmare, Carl and Susan get into a horrible car wreck. Carl recovers to find the car aflame and Susan missing. The entirety of the rest of this segment is filmed from Carl's perspective as he tries to find help, only to be met with abject terror from everyone he comes across, from vagrants to motorists to even his own wife. Going to Susan's apartment, he finds that while it was completely empty mere hours earlier, is now completely furnished again. He also finds Susan there, along with a horrifying discovery.
After the crash, and I was blinded,
Blinded?
and Carl was killed. 2 years ago.
But it was all just a nightmare. Carl and Susan are still driving, on that same night, on that same road, right into the path of that same truck. Ah, good old time loops. This segment is basically the ending of every Final Destination movie. The protagonist gets a vision of their untimely, painful death and has just enough time to realize what's going to happen, but not enough time to do anything about it. The first-person perspective is done quite effectively and really helps ramp up the mystery of just what has happened to Carl. The Crypt Keeper then moves on to the next tourist, Elliot, sparking our third segment, Poetic Justice. Elliot and his wealthy family live across from Mr. Grimsdyke, played by Peter Cushing, a local junk peddler and hermit, beloved by neighborhood children for giving out toys. Elliot hates Grimsdyke.
He's a rubbish collector, a dustman, places an eyesore. The toys he gives those kids, he finds in the rubbish heap and repairs. It ruins the neighborhood and depreciates the value of our property. The inside must be like a pigsty.
But then Elliot gets an idea. An awful idea. Elliot gets a wonderful, awful idea. Phase 1. Elliot sneaks into his neighbor's yard at night and digs up his prize flowers.
Somebody just made an awful mess of Mr. Baker's garden. Poor Grimsdyke's neighbor. He was so proud of his prize roses.
The neighbor blames the destruction of his garden on Grimsdyke's dogs, and the authorities cart them away. And Elliot is a jerk. I mean, what did poor Grimsdyke ever do to deserve...
Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
Oh, yeah. Phase 2 has Elliot convince the town council to force Grimsdyke into early retirement.
Too old. Did you think a younger man?
He'd lose his retirement pay.
And save the town some money.
So Grimsdyke has no job, no animal friends. You can't help but feel really sorry for him.
Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
Elliot then convinces the neighborhood parents to stop letting their children frequent Grimsdyke's house.
You can tell from looking at his house what a filthy old man he is. Constantly filling it with children. Heaven knows what his motivations are.
I don't understand it. Everyone was so kind. Now there's no work, no children, no one to make toys for. Oh, never mind. We've always got each other, haven't we, my dear? That's all that matters.
Grimsdyke's situation is heartbreaking enough, but it's even worse when you find out that Peter Cushing's real-life wife had recently died before he filmed this. It's been said he was acting as himself, so it doesn't matter that he blew up Alderaan. Poor Grimsdyke didn't deserve any of this. And especially not what happened next, in the final phase of Elliot's plan. On Valentine's Day, Grimsdyke receives a stack of valentines, apparently from the whole town. Just what the old man needs to brighten his day.
Noisier children, loud as a bell, pungent is perfume, but you only smell. A tree is beautiful, if its owner prunes it, but our town isn't, because your presence ruins it. Oh. Some people live in the country, some people live in the town. Why don't you do us a service? Jump in the river.
After not seeing Grimsdyke for days, Elliot and his father investigate, finding his house to be impeccably clean, books of the occult and mysticism on the table, and in the closet, one year to the day after Grimsdyke's suicide, Elliot gets a surprise visitor. And I'm actually not going to tell you the end of this segment, because it's the best ending of any of these segments in this movie and is very creepy. It's better if you watch this one yourself. But let's just say the segment's title of Poetic Justice is quite apt. The next tourist, Rolf, gets a vision of him going broke and forced to sell off his possessions in our fourth segment, Wish You Were Here.
I remember that one. We got it in that strange shop in Hong Kong when you were selling guns too.
Rolf's wife Enid sees some writing at the base of the statue that she has never noticed before.
3 wishes I give, and no more, to each owner of me, so keep score. Each wish will come true, so take care what you do.
Enid immediately wishes for lots and lots of money, and Rolf gets a call from his attorney about money. On the way, Rolf is followed by an ominous biker, and...
Ralph? Dead?
They found him in the wreckage of his car.
However, this horrific accident has a silver lining, because of course Rolf had a massive life insurance policy. Enid quickly uses her second wish.
I wish Ralph were back exactly as he was immediately before the accident.
However, they just haven't gotten the hang of these pesky monkey's paw scenarios.
Mr. Jason died of a heart attack at the wheel.
I wish to bring him back as he was immediately before the accident. But he was already dead. Dead from a heart attack, so the accident didn't kill him.
Yep, Rolf is still dead. So Enid makes use of her final wish.
I wish Ralph were alive now. I don't want him to die ever. I want him moving, breathing, talking, alive. Now, forever.
And Rolf does come back to life. Unfortunately, he's already been embalmed, so he's in extreme pain. And since she wished him alive forever, he can't re-die, despite Edith's best efforts. So, we've had a wife kill her husband over money, an adulterer about to leave his wife and child, a horrible, horrible SOB, and a very unlucky man.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong.
The Crypt Keeper turns to the final tourist, setting off our final segment, Blind Alleys. Major Rogers is the new superintendent at a home for the blind, bringing with him his trusty dog Shane. He quickly starts cutting costs, turning off the heat at night in the middle of winter. Something I'm sure none of us at the moment can relate to.
The beds are cold. There aren't enough blankets.
I'm trying to run this place as efficiently and as economically as I can. I'm afraid the current budget does not include the cost of new blankets. But I was in the army for over 20 years, and I learned to handle all kinds of men there.
With all due respect, sir, we are not soldiers. Why don't you sell that painting and buy us fuel or extra blankets?
I was not aware that the administration of expenditure for this establishment had been handed over to you, Mr. Carter. Good morning.
Next, the Major cuts the quality of their food.
Sorry, Dad, there ain't no more.
No second helping?
Well, rations were cut, you see.
The blind men confront the Major in his office, interrupting his dinner of steak and wine, but are chased off by Shane. The final straw comes when one of the men dies from the cold. The blind men hatch a plan, starting with luring Shane away and locking him up in the basement. With his guard dog incapacitated, they overpower the Major and lock him up as well. They then spend days starving both Shane and the Major.
Your dog seems to be getting hungry, Major Rogers.
Oh, feed him, please. Please feed him.
All in good time.
But you must feed him. He'll be dangerous. He'll go wild, berserk.
I know, Major Rogers, sir.
They also spend that time building something. Eventually the door opens and the Major sees what the men have been doing with their time, constructing a path guiding him somewhere. He sees a thin corridor where the walls have been lined with dozens and dozens of razor blades. The Major inches his way through them, cutting himself a few times, but finally gets to where the blind men have been leading him. And so, having told his tales, the Crypt Keeper opens the door and allows the tourists to leave.
But how can we? Where are we?
In a place where people go who have died without repentance. You see, I wasn't warning you, but telling you why you are here for all eternity.
The tourists shamble off towards their fate, and the Crypt Keeper returns to his post, with no one left to haunt with ghastly tales. Or is he?
And now, who's next? Perhaps you?
And that's Tales from the Crypt. It would go on to inspire the long-running television series of the same name, with a more entertaining Crypt Keeper. 3 segments, and All Through the House, Wish You Were Here, and Blind Alleys, were turned into episodes of said series, which ran 7 seasons and spawned multiple movies. There was a follow-up to this one the following year called The Vault of Horror, which took its title from another EC Comics horror magazine. So, was every segment a masterpiece? No. But they're all enjoyable, and some are downright disturbing. In fact, hey, Dr. Format!
What?
I'd like an upgrade.
Oh, fine, all right.
Thanks! Hey, it's got Vault of Horror. I guess I'll be getting to that at some point in the future. Tales from the Crypt is currently available to watch for free with ads on Tubi, Popcorn Flicks, and the Roku channel. Links to all of those are in the video description. So tune in next time when I'll be taking a look at a movie tangentially related to Tales from the Crypt that is free to watch somewhere on the internet with ads.
And then...
Another movie from the polls, probably?
And then,
Another Free with Ads film?
and then.
Maybe make a permanent set? So please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, join the Facebook page, email me with your thoughts and ideas and your favorite episode of Tales from the Crypt. And until next time, I'm David DeRose, and I am a cinephile.
Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.